As this freight recession continues to drag on longer than anyone thought it would be, carriers big and small are starting to think about laying off and trimming their fleet to control their costs. And it's the right thing to do when money's not coming in so quickly. But everyone always assumes that when carriers trim costs, they lay off drivers. Is that necessarily the smart way to go about it? The smart trucking companies know that's not the way. Drivers generate revenue. Middle management, the white-collar workers, they cost the carrier money. For years, people in an upwardly mobile society have considered it to be desirable to be a white-collar worker rather than a blue-collar worker. People wanted to see their neighbors watching and see that they were carrying a briefcase to work rather than a lunchbox. But when the economy slides, when things get tough, it's the blue-collar workers that always survive the recession better than the white-collar workers. In the Great Depression, those weren't truck drivers jumping out the windows of Wall Street. They were middle-collar, white-collar executives. Truck drivers know that the country needs them too bad. They'll always have work. America will always need its truck drivers before it needs its safety supervisors and its accountants to track the paperwork. Now, in the last few years, trucking companies have become upper middle management heavy, and it's probably due to all the paperwork they've got incoming from government trying to keep them legal, from insurance companies and customers invoicing them. But at the end of the day, when things get tough, trucking companies can lay off those people and do without them for a while. But they still need to be making money, and it's only the truck drivers at the trucking company that are making the money. So while the white-collar workers in the trucking companies may think they're better than you, at the end of the day, they're going to be gone, and you're still going to be there. Society is well on the way to be able to computerize and digitize all the things that office workers will do. They're well on their way to that, and it's working very well. But when they come to try to computerize trucking companies and trucks with their autonomous trucks, well, that's not going so particularly well. Now, certainly, if freight is slow, it's a logical time for trucking companies to get rid of the fat, trim off those drivers that aren't particularly good. And the good drivers that are still there are smart enough to understand that because the volume of freight is lower, there's going to be less work to go around. So you've got to put up with the company kind of sharing what there is with everybody. And remember, there's no point in jumping carriers when it gets slow like this because it's nationwide. So you can jump carriers, but the next one's still going to be slow anyway. They're all suffering from the same thing. There's just a shortage of freight right now. Now, if you're a Teamster driving for a unionized company, you might have need to worry a little bit because Teamster organized companies don't keep their best drivers. They lay off strictly by seniority. Kind of a weird thing, but that's just the way it is. But at the end of the day, who do you think's been smarter in this situation? The blue-collar workers that have chosen a job that will never disappear. It will always be around, as compared to the white-collar workers who had their noses up in the air and they thought, oh, I work in the management, only to get laid off when things get slow and have to go job hunting and cleaning out their desks. So at the end of the day, if you're a truck driver with a carrier and things are really slow, it might be a little worrisome because the freight's too slow. But if you're sweating, just think how badly those guys upstairs in the white-collar jobs, the middle management, are sweating. They've got it way worse off than you because they're the guys that are going to be gone first. Freight is cyclical in the trucking industry. It always comes back. It will come back once again, and things will get busy once again. But there's always going to be freight, and there's always going to be a need for truck drivers. Quick story, I remember years ago being at a trucking company. It was a good place to work, but they were top heavy. They had a lot of middle management people, secretaries and accountants and stuff. And I was walking in one day from parking the truck out in the lot, and there were two secretaries out there having a cigarette. And the one was saying to the other, you know, this would be a good place to work if it weren't for all the truck drivers. And they didn't mean for me to hear them, but I did. And I just kept walking. I walked inside and I laughed because I knew that there wouldn't be a trucking company for them to work at if there were no truck drivers. Stay safe, keep the rubber side down, don't sweat your job. It's going to be there. I'll see you on the backhaul.